and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and today we are doing a Game Week 16 tier list video where we're going to rank some of the best and worst transfers that you guys are making this game week to see kind of who we should be buying. So guys, if you do enjoy this one, make sure you drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's get started with the tier list. So we've got 5 categories depending on how good I think these transfers are to make in Game Week 16. And we're going to rank the 30 most popular transfers in at time of recording on this list. Starting off with the 30th most popular transfer of the week, which is Virgil van Dijk, who I'm going to put in the optional category. Now, in general, I would say that Liverpool are an okay defence at the moment, but they are conceding chances. And against Sheffield United, you know, they did concede a few chances, and against a better team, you wonder if Liverpool might have maybe conceded a few goals in that game, maybe 1 goal, maybe 2. There is still a bit of shakiness there, and I do think there is an unspoken rule in FPL whereby don't transfer in players based on a good performance against Sheffield United, because going forward, you know, you're not going to get the same kind of results against other teams as you might do against Sheffield. And this game week we've got Crystal Palace. I think that's an opportunity for a clean sheet, but after that, do we want to be spending 6.1 million on a defender with, you know, really not so great fixtures? I'm really not sure about it. In general, the defence position, there's not much value here. So if you want to go for Van Dijk for a clean sheet this week, fair enough. After that, I think you might struggle a little bit more. Next up, Lascelles, who's going to go in the avoids category for a couple of reasons. Yes, he's really good value for money, but the first reason is next up, we've got Tottenham Hotspur. Like, this is not a good fixture. If there's one team you don't want to play, it's the super attacking team like Spurs if you are a defender. So I'm not super confident about a Newcastle clean sheet in Game Week 16, to be fair. But the other reasons is Botman is going to be back pretty soon, within the next couple of weeks. So you've really got only a couple more weeks for Lascelles to be a valuable player in your team. And one of those fixtures is against Spurs. Then after that, you're not going to want to have a Lascelles because there's so many other great Newcastle assets that are becoming closer and closer to essential, particularly after this game week. There's a lot of amazing Newcastle players that going for Lascelles will lock you out of going for those players. So I think he's a player who will cause you more problems than he'll actually solve, even if he can get a few points in the short term. I just don't think it's worth going for him. Next up, Kyle Walker. I'm going to put him in the optional category, and we've got a lot of Man City players on this tier list today. The problem is, they've got a good fixture against Luton next. It's the standout fixture of the game week. Man City versus Luton. Everyone's going to be looking at that for good reason, but the problem is we do have a blank in Game Week 18 for Man City, so it's really going to depend. If you are free hitting in Game Week 18, and I think that strategy is looking less and less viable, considering Mbeumo is going to be, you know, potentially out for the next couple of game weeks anyway. So Mbeumo, a player who's blanking, who you might want to free hit out, you're probably going to transfer Mbeumo out anyway. And also the chances of a double game week, you know, for Man City and for Brentford, yes, it's still going to happen, but I don't know if it's going to happen maybe as soon as we expected. We thought Game Week 20, but could it maybe move to 21, 24, 25, 26? It could happen a little bit later on than initially expected. So I'm liking the free hit strategy in Game Week 18 less and less. So it's an option if you are committing to that strategy and you want to try and take advantage of these good fixtures around the blank for Man City. But aside from that, I'm not really sure about that one. Zinchenko's going to go in the avoid category as well because the fixtures are poor for defence. Arsenal, you know, they've got some of the worst defensive fixtures in the Premier League coming up in the next 4. Some really, really tough games. You know, Aston Villa next, another team that scores so many goals at the moment. They're looking so good, particularly when Aston Villa are playing at home. So really not confident about the Arsenal defence this week. And arguably, we should be moving away from Arsenal defenders rather than towards them. But again, a defender transfer is really worth it. Probably not. To go for a Zinchenko though, definitely not something I would be doing. Now, next up, I'm probably going to be a little bit harsh here, and I'm going to put Garnacho in the avoid category. I actually don't think he's so bad value for money at 4.7 million. You know, if we're talking about going for a nice cheap player, I guess he fits the bill, but we've got to try and be a little bit harsher in these tier list videos, and I know already that we can have a lot of players in optional today, so I'm going to be harsher on Garnacho. I think there could be a little bit of rotation there. I'm still not totally convinced by his finishing. He will, you know, get points here and there, but in general, still not totally convinced by Manchester United. They have mixed fixtures coming up. It's not like they have an amazing run or anything like that. You would think that Rashford is not going to be frozen out forever. It could be, back to Rashford and Antony on either wing, something like that. Or maybe we might see Bruno go on the wing some games, particularly in a busy fixture schedule. Garnacho's not a nails-on player. So overall, I'm just not totally convinced by him quite yet. But if you're going for a cheap player, he definitely fits the bill. I just think there's other midfielders that are going to be able to score you more points. You can get some other midfielders for a decent price as well, which we're going to talk about today. Next up, Phil Foden. I'm going to put him in a similar situation to Walker. Kind of same thing again. If you're free hitting in Game Week 18, fine. It would probably be worth taking the risk on a player like Foden. However, if you are not free hitting, he would probably be an avoid. So, yeah, Foden, I think there's potential against Luton. There's always potential for, attacking players against Luton Town. However, am I totally happy with going for all of these Man City players? Not if you're not free hitting, basically. Next up, GW16. Yes, another player in the optional category. He's just not done enough to convince me. Yes, he did okay in Game Week 15. Fair enough to him, but is he the best forward to go for in the game right now? Probably not. I do like Arsenal's fixtures for an attacking point of view a little bit more. So I guess he is an option, but he wouldn't probably be in my top 3 forward transfer targets this week, to be honest. So maybe there's money to be spent better elsewhere. There is one Man City player, however, that I am going to put a lot higher, and that is going to be Erling Haaland. He's going to go in the must-buy category. I think, you've got to have that one Man City player, I guess, who you can just bench in Game Week 18. And if you're going to have that one player who is going to blank in Game Week 18, it should be Haaland. And the main reason why I do think he is probably a must-buy, I could maybe slip him into great transfer, but the reason I'm going to put him in must-buy despite that blank is because, to me, looking through the captain options for Game Week 16, I can't see anyone other than Haaland. It's so obvious to captain Haaland against Luton Town. Salah playing away against Crystal Palace. I'm not totally convinced by that one. Son is playing against Newcastle. That's a tough fixture there as well for him. So who else are we going to captain other than Haaland? So if you did find yourself, not, going without Haaland for a little while, you've really, really got to consider getting him back in. I really would make that a top priority for this game week because I think it might be a struggle going against Erling Haaland for captaincy this week. His effective ownership is going to be so high. He could be a rank destroyer for so many people. And I actually think Haaland's been unlucky not to get more points in recent game weeks. So, yeah, let's continue on. Next player is Mbeumo. I'm guessing he's so popular because people have been making early transfers. Naughty, naughty. Don't make early transfers, guys, or try not to at least. But Mbeumo, obviously, with an injury, he's picked up an ankle injury. We're not sure exactly how long he's going to be out for. Hopefully, we'll find out within the next day or so before the deadline, fingers crossed. But it's not looking good. And considering that, if he's injured for this game week, we've only then got one more game week before, and that's against Aston Villa, by the way, before his blank. So if he's injured for this game week, even if he is back for the following game week, it's still like one fixture and then another blank. So it just does not seem worth buying him. Certainly not this week. It would just be a straight up avoid for me and a probable sell as well. The player I would be looking to sell if he is confirmed out for this game week, which I think he will be. Next up, Solanke. I actually don't mind Solanke so much. Manchester United up next. I think there's still a good chance of Bournemouth scoring. They seem to be in good attacking form at the moment, and Manchester United, I'm not totally convinced by them defensively at the moment. So, yeah, Solanke, don't mind him as a transfer. Decent price at 6.5 million. He would be one of my favourite forwards to go for if you're not quite ready to go for the 7-8 million price bracket forward. Solanke is a nice player there as well. The next player, this is a difficult one. It's Alexander Isak, who I'm going to put in the optional category. It's an okay game against Spurs. I think with Romero back, it might be a little bit more difficult for Newcastle in this game. Actually, no, I don't know. There's still going to be no Van der Ven, but they're going to have a lot of players back in general, Spurs, in the more defensive positions. I just feel like there could be some level of difficulty for Newcastle to score goals. I do still fancy them to score a goal in this game, but it's not going to be as much as usual, perhaps. Now, the problem with Isak, and the reason why it's not going higher for me, is simply this. Wilson is back in training, and this really worries me as an Isak owner myself. So if I had an option to buy Isak this week, I probably wouldn't be doing it. But if you already have him, I guess see what happens. But I'm losing confidence in Isak with the Wilson kind of, he's going to come back soon. There's going to be rotation, and it's going to be a bit of a tragedy for Isak. Kind of how a lot of people had a tragedy in Game Week 15 with Darwin. Could see even more so with Isak, because they really will be a lot of rotation. He probably only plays 50% or starts 50% of games when Wilson's back. So that's just not good enough for me, despite the good fixtures coming up. So Isak is optional, really risky for minutes though. If you are not willing to take that risk, just do not go there. But Isak, arguably as a player, we want to think about selling soon with Wilson looming. Next up, Alvarez. Again, same situation as with these other Man City players. Let's just stick them all together for peace of mind there. Yeah, if you're free hitting, go for them. If not, don't. Next up, Heung-min Son, who... It's really difficult, and there's a lot of players this game week, and you're going to find this, guys, in this video. There's a lot of players who are being transferred in, who are fantastic players and fantastic options in general, but just don't have great fixtures this game week. So is it that you have to buy them this game week, or maybe could you hold off for one more week? Now, I've made no secret, I think Son is one of the most important players to own in FPL, but if I didn't have him right now, would I be desperate to buy him against Newcastle? I don't think I would. So could you wait one more week before bringing in Son? I think if you've got other issues in your team right now, Son is not going to be a priority transfer move to you, and you can hold off one more week before going for the likes of Son. But if you know you really need to make a midfield transfer right now, and you want to bring in a player for the slightly medium term, I guess, because we've got the Asia Cup coming up, remember, as well. If you want that high potential medium term player and you need to get a new midfielder in now, then Son is probably going to be your answer. But against Newcastle, I don't know. I'm the least confident I've been in Son in quite some time this game week. Let's move on anyway to Martinez. Why people buy Martinez, I have no idea. I guess because he's like one of the only people to keep a clean sheet recently. So yeah, clean sheet against Man City. Probably think he's going to do it against anyone but Arsenal next. Yeah, there's no way I'll be buying Martinez right now. And there are better options in goal to go for right now. So Martinez, straight in the avoid category. Would not be looking at that transfer at all. Saka against Aston Villa. I'm going to put him in good transfer as well. I would say that he has a slightly better fixture than some of the other of these really important players, like the likes of Son and some other players we're going to add to the tier list very, very shortly. However, I don't think in general Saka is as important as a Trippier, as a Watkins, as these other kind of expensive players. Saka is great. He is consistent. He's a nice player to have in your team. Is he a player that you are going to desperately need to bring in to your team? However, no, he is probably not. But if you need a midfielder, Saka is an option for you there. And he's certainly got a better fixture, I would say, than Son at this game. I think Newcastle is tougher for Son than Saka is, Aston Villa is for Saka. But at the same time, Son, I trust more to get goals, no matter what the fixture, and get assists as well, and get those big hauls. But it's kind of an option for you there. Next up, Trippier. Again, same situation. Great player to own. A player who is, going to be coming very close to essential, but maybe not this game week. If you don't have Trippier yet, you can probably hold off for one more week. And then at that point, you would be really, really considering bringing in Trippier, because the fixtures after this Spurs game for Newcastle are arguably the best of anyone. It's Chelsea and Newcastle have the best fixtures. You'd say Newcastle are in better form, or maybe the slightly better team right now with the better FPL assets. You are going to want to go for players like Trippier very, very soon. But can you wait until after Game Week 16 finishes? Yes, you probably can. So a good transfer, but not quite essential. A nice player to have in your team, but do you need to go for him? Maybe not right now. Next up, Onana. Next game is against Bournemouth, which looks a good fixture on paper. But like I say, Bournemouth have been scoring goals recently. Manchester United have been looking shaky in defence. And the fixtures after the Bournemouth game, they are not so sweet. So for Manchester United's defensive probabilities, I would probably not be too confident. So yeah, we're going to put Onana in the avoid category. Again, what's going on? Why are people buying all these goalkeepers? We've got some better goalkeeper options to go for than Martinez or Onana or Ederson as well. 5.5 million. We really spending that much money on a goalkeeper right now, given how few points they are getting? No way, Jose Mourinho. So Ederson's going to go in the avoid category, plus the blank in 18. Yes, he might get a clean sheet in the next game week or two. Is it going to be worth it long term? Probably not, particularly if buying Ederson is going to force you into a free hit. So no, not spending that much money on a goalkeeper, not for me. Right, next up, Raheem Sterling, who I think is an interesting pick. I do think he is an interesting pick. I'm tempted by this one. Now, Everton away is not the greatest fixture of all, but it's not too bad. And certainly after that, the fixtures are a lot better for Chelsea. Is he as important as a Son or a Saka in your team? No, he is not. But there's still definitely a debate to say, if we're looking for a midfielder around the 7 million mark, could Sterling be the solution? Potentially, because the fixtures are good. So I do quite like Sterling. I think he is a good transfer, but that's about it. He will go in around there, I would say. Next up, João Pedro. Another one for the avoids category, I think, because I think he's going to get rotated again. He played in game week 15. That probably means he's going to be benched in game week 16. That's usually how things work with the De Zerbi rotation. It's a bit of a nightmare at Brighton right now, trying to predict who's going to play and who isn't. But I'm going to put him as a high avoid, just because there is always potential with penalties, with him getting something from the bench as well. It's a good fixture against Burnley. So yeah, in general, a player I wouldn't want to own long term at all, but maybe there is some potential this game week at the very least. Next up, Sanchez. Now, Sanchez is actually a goalkeeper I don't mind. I think the reason why so many people are buying him right now are for the wrong reasons, because he scored a load of points with the penalty save, and when a goalkeeper saves penalties, then usually a load of FPL managers just bring them in thinking, yeah, he's got loads of points, he's probably going to save a penalty every week now. It's not going to happen, is it? But, however, Chelsea do have good fixtures. Sanchez is probably, the most nailed on of all of the defensive Chelsea assets right now. So, therefore, I think he's got to be an option. So, yeah, don't mind Sanchez. I'm going to put him in optional. Again, there is another goalkeeper who you probably already know about, who is probably going to be a better pick to go for right now. But, in general, Sanchez, I definitely prefer him to the other goalkeepers on this tier list. And it seems to be a goalkeeper-crazy episode of the tier list videos, right? Next up, Scott McTominay, 2 goals in game week 15. Is that going to happen again? I don't know. I don't know if we can expect that every game week. To be fair, McTominay has been super inconsistent. He has had some really nice moments for Manchester United, but, we're looking at, these 2 returns. He's been blank. He's been blank for the last 5 game weeks or something like that, maybe 6 game weeks. So it's not something we should be expecting every game week. It's not going to be a reliable source of FPL points. Often he is playing a lot deeper as well. So, yeah, occasionally he might pop up, but 4.8 million, wasting a midfield slot. The fixtures are mixed at best. I'm not super convinced by this one. If you really want to go for it, fair enough, but I think I'll be looking elsewhere, personally. But yeah, maybe, again, I'm being a little bit harsh. I'm sure you guys will have lots of comments to say about these Manchester United assets who I have ranked quite lowly. Next up, Levi Colwill, probably one of my favourite defenders to go for this game week, to be fair to him. So we're going to put him alongside the good transfer category, I think. I'm going to put him at the bottom of the good transfer category. Again, would be super keen on defensive transfers, and I think Colwill will get rested and rotated occasionally. But seeing him playing at centre-back, as well as playing in left-back in the previous game weeks, we have seen now that, obviously, Pochettino trusts him in multiple positions, which does increase his potential for minutes, which I think is quite nice. So, yeah, in general, Colwill, for a 4.5 million defender, I know a lot of you guys are looking for those cheap defenders right now, he'd probably be one of the main players I go for. Him and Pedro Porro is probably the other defender I'd be quite keen to go for this game week, to be fair, with fairly decent fixtures this game week-ish. Porro, maybe not so much, but yeah, certainly Colwill. Yeah, I like him as a pick. Next up, Ollie Watkins. Guess what? We've got the same situation with Son, Trippier and Saka, because Watkins has a horror fixture against Arsenal. But I still do think he is a good player to own in general. He's going to be a player who is playing every game week. He is a trustworthy for minutes in a busy fixture period. We've got a really nice fixture against Sheffield United in game week 18, where Watkins really could be a potential captain option in that game week as well. So I kind of like Watkins in general. It's just, would you buy him for this game against Arsenal? Is the potential for goals against Arsenal super high? Yes, it's Aston Villa at home, but we're talking about a team that, despite conceding goals against Luton, let's just put that to the side for a second, they have been consistently the best defence in the Premier League this season, and I'm not going to suddenly change my mind on that based on the results of one game week. So Watkins, consistent player, good fixtures coming up after the Arsenal game. Is he essential to buy now? No. Is he a good player to own in general? Yes. So good transfer. No more than that, I guess. We need to start filling in the great transfer category, guys, because we've got no one in there yet. Who are we going to be buying? I mean, a lot of you guys already have Haaland, so who are the players to buy? Well, let's start off with Gordon. Yes, he's been in some good form recently. In fact, some seriously good form recently. So really, really impressed by him. So he's going to go in the great transfer category. Like I said about Newcastle, their fixtures coming up are great. And actually, when you look at the Spurs fixture from an attacker's point of view, it is slightly better than from a defensive point of view. So I do back Gordon to continue his great form at the moment. And if you are not already tied in with triple Newcastle, definitely consider him to be one of, if not the replacement for the likes of Mbermo. But there are a couple of other players who you need to think about as well. But certainly Gordon should be very high on your transfer targets list, if nothing else, as long as you can manage to get to him. Because I know we are loading up on Newcastle players and we can't get them all, can we? Right, next up, Cunha. I guess he's an option. Like, he's been pretty consistent with FPL returns recently, and we've got a decent fixture coming up next. Decent fixtures in the next two, in fact. So, yeah, if you want a cheap forward, I guess he's an option. Am I super confident about buying Wolves attackers in general? Probably not, but hey, Cunha's doing okay. If you're looking for okay, he's your man. Next up, Dubravka. Guess what? We've got another same situation with a good player to own in general, but with a bad fixture. Is this week the week to buy Dubravka? Probably not. It's probably not the week to buy him, but he's a great player to own in general. If I didn't already buy Dubravka in Game Week 15, would I be buying him in Game Week 16, or would I be waiting one more week? Well, unless there's a price increase that forces your hands, I think I would wait one more week. But he's still an option. If you've got no other priorities in your team, then you could go for Dubravka, but when he's about to play Spurs, it does seem like a bit of a luxury transfer. But maybe I'm a bit hard. I'm going to put him in the good transfer category still, because I think after this fixture, he pretty much goes to the essential category. So, yeah. It's a tough one. So many tough ones this week, isn't there? It really, really is. I don't know if I'm enjoying making this video or not, but we have to move on to the hype player of the week, which is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Another good score, but should we say, similar to Van Dijk, should you be buying players off the back of a good result against Sheffield United, or is that a trap? Often it's a trap. In fairness to Trent, he actually did pretty well, scored points in the previous two game weeks to that as well. Can we expect that to happen every game week? No, of course not. But I think Trent could pick you up a decent amount of points in general. But on the other hand, he's so expensive, 8 million. Are we really willing to spend this much money on a defender? I don't know if we are. I'm going to put Trent in the optional category. I'm not going to put him any higher than that, because I think if you go for Trent, you are going to lose out on players who, in my opinion, are better FPL assets. Like, after this game week, it's going to be so much more important to have Son, Trippier, Saka, Watkins, these kind of guys. Erling Haaland, of course. You know, these are going to be much more important players to own than a Trent, and you can't afford them all. So you have to make a decision. And if going for Trent means that you're not going to be able to access Son, Trippier, Saka, Watkins, then I don't think there's a place for Trent. You know, in a straight-up 1v1 battle, who is the better FPL option, Trippier or Trent? This week, it's probably Trent. But all of the game weeks after that, it's probably Trippier. So, therefore, would I be recommending Trent to you guys right now? If you've got so much money to burn, I guess you could go for him. But if you're taking hits, if you're restructuring your team, and you're locking yourself out of really important players that you want to get in future game weeks, then I don't think I'd do it. And that's pretty much where I stand on Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's an okay player to go for. There is benefits to having him, but there is also significant disadvantages and opportunity costs to getting him as well. And I think that's an underrated thing in FPL. Opportunity cost of getting a player. Now, there's two more players on the list, and finally we are going to be filling up the great transfers category a little bit more, because next up, it's Cole Palmer. And the reason I'm going to put Palmer ahead of Gordon is, one, penalties, always nice. But more importantly, I think there is several options for your 3 Newcastle slots now, whereby, you know, Gordon is a great asset in isolation. But if you've got a Trippier, a Dubravka, and maybe an Isak in your team already, or a Trippier, Dubravka, and I don't know, like a Lascelles maybe, I don't know. There are other options. There's just going to be other options at Newcastle right now that you can go for. So you don't have to have Gordon necessarily. You can go for a different combination of Newcastle players. Whereas Palmer, like, we're probably not going to be tripled up on Chelsea at all, so it's going to be very easy to get Palmer. He's a little bit cheaper as well, but don't get me wrong, I think these two players will score a similar amount of points. I think they're both really, really good options, but I think there's just more going for Palmer rather than Gordon just gives you that little tiny bit more flexibility in your team, particularly if you've already got the likes of Lascelles and Isak in your team, and you want to have access to the likes of Trippier and Dubravka in future game weeks. Maybe, you know, it's going to be more difficult for you to get Gordon, but Gordon's still an amazing pick, as is Palmer. So love these guys. Again, another great Mbermo replacement for this week. Would really, really recommend going for one of Palmer or Gordon if possible. And if you can't go for Palmer, or you can't go for Gordon, maybe you've already got these players or you're already tripled up, then there's one more guy who I think is a really good replacement for Mbermo. And that is going to be Hwang Hee-chan. Yes, he's going in the great transfer category on penalties, good fixtures. And the one Wolves player who we can actually trust in attack. And to be fair, maybe Wolves are becoming more trustworthy in attack as well. So Hee-chan is, I think, a very nice pick. Now, one warning sign, and the reason why Hee-chan is going to be lower than Palmer and Gordon is, one, Hee-chan is on 4 yellow cards right now. He could pick up a 5th one. It's a minor concern, I guess. But I think more importantly, the Asia Cup. Yes, after game week 21, Hee-chan is going to be unavailable for several game weeks because he's going to be off playing international duty at the Asia Cup. And that's only in, you know, we're looking at 5 game weeks time. So you're forcing yourself, you're booking in a transfer for the future game weeks. And if you've already got Salah and Son and, you know, maybe Mbermo in there as well, although you're probably selling him, you know, if you've got all of these other players, Semenyo, Nori maybe. There's a lot of players who are going to be going off playing in AFCON or the Asia Cup in that period of time. Would you love to get another player in? There is risks involved, but in the short term, I still think Hee-chan could do pretty well. So therefore, he is still a great transfer, but just those kind of, at certain points, when we're looking at 3 great options like Palmer, Gordon, and Hee-chan, and they are all great options, at a certain point, we do have to start splitting hairs a little bit and going into the super detail of what are the tiny things that might influence our decisions a little bit. And that is why I'm going to put Hee-chan lower than Palmer and Gordon, despite the fact he is a phenomenal FPL asset again. So, Hee-chan, I like him. I definitely think if you can't get a Palmer or Gordon, Hee-chan is probably going to be looking like the midfielder to go for this game week. And I'm pretty happy and confident in saying that as well. Little shout out to Kudus as well. I think he is another option that is not on this tier list. I think the 2 players I do like who aren't on this tier list are probably Kudus and Porro as well, if you're looking for a defender there. Outside of that, I think we've probably covered most of the major players, but if there's anyone missing, let me know in the comments and I'll tell you what I think, where I would rank them in terms of this tier list to transfer in on this particular game week 16. But there we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure you drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here as well. We're going to be doing a strategy stream after the games this evening. So once those games have finished, make sure you join me on this channel and we'll do a stream and we'll talk about lots of FPL related stuff in far more detail, strategy and the like. So yeah, I hope to see you there. But aside from that, thanks so much for watching once again and I will be seeing you later, mateys. Bye-bye.